Hello everyone, welcome to Jolly Molly TV. Today we're going to make this beautiful lighted glass block using Embroidery Library's Christmas series stained glass blocks. Aren't these beautiful? And we're going to make it double-sided so that you're going to be able to have a design on each side of the block so that everyone on your dining room table or during your get-togethers will be able to see these amazing blocks. Isn't this gorgeous? I just love them. Just love it. So if you're excited, let's get started. Okay, so let's look at some of the supplies that you need to make this amazing project. The first thing you're going to need is a glass block, and you're looking for a glass block that is a craft block that has a hole in the bottom here that you can insert the lights into after we embroider the block and attach it. I'm going to go over to the computer in a few seconds and I'm going to show you where you can get this block and a smaller size block as well. The next thing you're going to need is a piece of organza. This is a really pretty red organza that I'm going to use for this Christmas series. You can choose any color you want. I got mine from Joann's. Joann's has lots of different colors of organza. In fact, when it goes on sale, and there's a coupon, I usually will go in and buy a selection of all different colors so I have them on hand because organza is great for lots and lots of cool projects. So I have a piece of organza, and then I have two pieces of a wash away stabilizer. And why do I use two, you ask? Two pieces of this gives extra stabilization for the stitches. And with the organza, when you hoop it, it also gives you extra gripping capability within the hoop. So your organza is not going to slip and slide. You also have to hoop it very tight, which we'll go over here in a minute. But the trick is using two pieces of this stabilizer serves both purposes. Gives you extra stabilization for the stitches. It helps prevent puckering and shifting when you stitch. And it also helps with the hooping process as well. So just so you know, the stabilizer that I love to use is by Kimberbell. It's a wash away embroidery stabilizer. They have a wash away sticky back as well. You don't need the sticky back. You just need regular wash away embroidery stabilizer. It comes in the two sizes. For the project I'm doing, I need the large size, which is a 20-inch roll. If you're using the smaller block, then you can use a 12-inch roll, 12-inch roll. But because I'm doing the larger block, I need the 20-inch. There you go, a 20-inch roll. So that's what I'm using for this project. All right, so let's go over to the computer real quick and let me show you how to determine what size you're going to need pieces of your stabilizer and also where to get the blocks and the designs. Okay, we're at the computer and let's take a look at embroiderylibrary.com. And up at the top here in the search, type in stained glass Christmas. And you're going to be looking for this collection. This is what I'm going to be showing you how to make in this video. And if you scroll down even further, it shows you the 6 designs that are included in this design pack. Now you don't have to purchase the whole pack. You can purchase individual designs if you like. So the one I'm going to be showing you how to make today is the Christmas tree. And the one I'm going to make for the back side of my glass block, because I'm doing double-sided, is the Christmas bell block. I think those two will look really pretty together. So what you're going to want to do is make a selection for the size that you need. And that's going to be determined by the size of the glass block that you purchase. Now let's go to Hobby Lobby real quick. And this is where I purchased my glass block. So you go to hobbylobby.com. And there's two main square sizes. There's a 5.5 by 5.5 and a 7.5 by 7.5 inch. And wherever you happen to get your block, whether it's Hobby Lobby or Michael's or I think Maynard's has it, you want to make sure it's a craft block, which means it has a hole here on the bottom for you to be able to insert the fairy lights. Okay, so that's when you want to make sure that it's a hollow block with a hole that allows you access. So if you choose the 7.5 by 7.5 inch block, the size of design that you'll be looking for is going to be a 6 by 9 inch by 6.9 inch. That will fit nicely on this block that's 7.5 by 7.5, allowing this little border edge to kind of frame your block. If you're looking for the 5.5 inch block, then on your stained glass designs, you want the 4.9 inch by 4.9 inch. And that will again allow the block to fit nicely and allow this little frame on the outside. Okay, so those are the sizes that you'll need. So determine which size glass block you like, then determine which size design you need, and go ahead and get those. And like I said, you can choose any of these designs here. Let me go back a second here. You can choose any of these designs or all of them. My goal eventually is to create all of them so that I can rotate them out depending on which I want to display. So for this video project, I'm going to be doing the tree and the Christmas bells. So let's go back to the table and take a last look at the few more supplies that you need for this project. You will need a rotary cutter and a ruler because we're going to be trimming up the blocks. Your ruler doesn't have to be this big. It can be like a 6 by 12 inch or a 3 by 12 inch. This is just one I happen to have handy, but any type of ruler that will go at least 12 inches will be very handy. You're going to need your assortment of all your threads, which you will look at Embroidery Library and get the color change sheet. Print that out and it will show you the colors of thread that you need. I use polyester embroidery thread for all of my embroidery. So you can also change up the colors and pick which ones you might want to replace ones that they show as a sample. So you'll get your polyester embroidery threads. I also would like you to have a monofilament invisible thread. And this we're going to use at the end when we finish up the project. If you watched my autumn design series, here's one of the ones right here. Embroidery Library finished off the edges with a satin stitch, in which we were able just to trim very closely to it and finish it off that way. These blocks in the Christmas series have like a regular stitch, I guess it's called a running stitch, on the edges. And even though there's a lot, I still feel more comfortable sewing the back of the organza to the back of the block. And in doing so, I'm going to use a monofilament invisible thread in both the top of my machine and in the bobbin. The monofilaments come in two colors. There's the white, which is the clear, which was what we normally see. And then there's this invisible kind of a dark gray black thread that will appear invisible on our block because we're going to literally sew them onto the black edge here, which would be either a black thread or a dark gray. So this is going to blend in and appear invisible when we do that. So this is a monofilament invisible thread. We need some embroidery tape or some of the blue painter's tape. You're going to need a couple pairs of scissors. One, just your standard embroidery thread cutting scissors so that you can cut your thread at the machine or any loose threads that you see as needed. I have a pair of pinking shears. We're going to pink the organza before we sew it to the back. So hopefully you have a pair of pinking shears handy. You need some E6000 glue for attaching the Velcro to the fabric. And then on this design, I'm going to be using Velcro sticky back, the regular strips, and I'm just going to cut a square. I used dots on the last one and the dots work fine. I just want a little bit more hold than what the sticky dots are providing, but the sticky dots do work fine. So if you have those, you can use those too. Okay. You're also going to need a towel later for the process for when we put the blocks on and we get rid of the wash away stabilizer, and a couple paper towels because we're going to dab those. And then the most important part of the whole project, we need fairy lights. So you have a couple options out there. You can go with the plug-in lights, or you could go battery operated, in which there is the lights. Okay, if you go with something like this, you're going to need to have also some either tulle on hand or some polyfill, soft polyfill to use, as long as your lights are LED, so they're cool to the touch. Because these, when you stand them up, are going to go straight to the bottom here. So you'll need to insert some either tulle or polyfill filling as you insert the lights if you go with this type of a strand. Okay, not a problem there. The other issue is, what color do you want? I used in the autumn series, I used this multicolor strand. I thought it was really cool because it had more of the oranges and the reds in it. This I think would be good for Christmas as well. We're going to have to test it. I can get the rest of them in here to give you that look. But when we do the block, I'll show you what the two of them look as well on the inside. It all depends on the color of the light that you like and the color of organza that you use. Okay, we have one other option for your fairy lights, and these are the wire strand, very small petite lights, but they give a nice glow too. And these, you're not going to need too much filling, if any at all, because they're on the wire, and they just kind of are going to go in there on their own. And then when you put them up, they're going to have a shape and they're going to hold their own. So I don't believe you would need any filling if you stretch the rest of that coil out. It's going to stay nicely on its own without filling, because it's wire based. You have to undo all this still, but it's wire based, so it has its own shape. So it's going to go in there and maintain a distance and be scattered around, and that would be very nice too. And all of these lights you can either get at Hobby Lobby, or I got mine at Amazon. Any place that sells Christmas lights, even Lowe's, Home Depot, they would have that as well. So that is the assortment of supplies that you need. It's not that bad to make this project. And in doing so, and using Velcro dots or the Velcro roll, you're going to be able to attach your design to these blocks and change them out season after season. So you don't have to have 10 blocks in your house. You can have 2 and scatter them throughout the house and have the 2. And then just with the Velcro, interchange them for each and every season. And I'm doing mine double-sided, so I'm going to have each block have 2 designs. So I can put it on a dining room table or a hall table, and everyone around on both sides of the blocks can see it. So is everyone excited to work on this project? I am. So let's go ahead and take our hooped organza and our wash away stabilizer, and let's go over to the machine and let's get started stitching. Okay, we are at the machine and ready to start. I have my hoop with 1 layer of the organza and 2 layers of the water soluble stabilizer. I have put a new bobbin in the bottom of my machine, so I have plenty to get me through this first part of the design. We'll probably need 2 bobbins total throughout, but 1 full one will be what we'll start with. Then let's go to the screen. We need to load the design on our machine, and if you have something similar, you can follow along. I have a dream machine, so this would be the instructions I'm giving for this machine, but you know your machine. So we're going to upload the design. I keep it on a flash drive, and I have it in a subfolder called stained glass, and then I have it in another subfolder, Christmas, because that's the one we're doing right now. And we're going to be stitching out the Christmas tree, so I'm going to bring that up. It is 6.91 inches by 6.9, so that's the design size I want. It's 41,826 stitches, and it's 74 minutes. So and that is just stitch time. That's not the time it takes to switch out all the thread changes. That is just the total stitching time. So not too bad. So we'll click set. I don't need to do anything or change anything, and I'm going to click embroidery. Okay, so load the design on your machine. Let's go back to the hoop cam. Now we're going to load our first color. Look at the change color sheet that Embroidery Library gives you. So it shows the first thread we're going to put in our machine is going to be a Christmas green. So this is my Christmas green that I've chosen for this. So go ahead and put that thread, your Christmas green color of choice, here in the top of your machine. And we're going to stitch it out. We're stitching with a regular 75/11 embroidery needle. We don't need anything special. Just a regular 75/11. And you see we have a little loop there. I want to get that out so it doesn't break my needle, because it'll wrap itself around and break. So we're ready to go. So let's get started. We are going to stitch this out. It's a 4-minute stitch out in real life. So we're going to fast forward. And here we go. Let's do it. Okay, we're getting started. So the next color that we need to choose is a brighter green to go with this green that we just did. So this is the green I'm going to put in the top of my machine. So go ahead and choose your bright green thread that you'd like and put it on the top of the machine. You can change this up. As you see as we go along, I am going to be changing colors for my block here that's different than the colors that they have in the sample. You can follow along with the colors they have, or you can do your own color combination. It is all up to you. So you pick which color you want your tree to be and put that thread on top, and let's do this. All right, starting to look like a tree. All right, now we're going to pick a third color for the tree. And in the sample, they have almost kind of a dark Victorian blue. I'm going to go, on my tree, a little bit more evergreen. So I'm going to go a darker green than the two that I just did to give it a little bit more contrast. So go ahead and pick whichever color you'd like the third color of your tree to be, and put that thread in the top of your machine. And after this is done, we're going to have the body of the tree done. All right, we're getting there. All right, so thread your needle and let's stitch this out. This is a 3-minute in real life stitch out, and we'll fast forward through this. Here we go. All right, that's looking good. How's your tree looking? Coming along, huh? Okay, so let's get that green out. And the next color that we're going to do is white. And white will be for the little snow areas over here and the ornaments. So you could also change color if you wanted to on the ornaments. If you wanted to, you could just stop your machine as it gets to each one and color change those ornaments out for whatever color you like. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go ahead and do mine all white. I think it would be a good contrast to my red organza. So I'll go ahead and do mine all white, but who knows, maybe I'll stick some crystals on it in the future. You don't know. You could do anything you like. So this is a 3-minute stitch out in real life. Here we go. Let's do it. All right, so now we're going to work on some of the stained glass background here. And this is again, or I'm going to change my colors up. They have 3 different shades of kind of gold to yellow to like a cornmeal. And I think I'm going to change my stained glass to be a silver, a gold, and then a slightly different, brighter color of gold. So this is going to be my stained glass background. I don't know quite how it's going to look, but I think it'll look really cool if I use the silver first, because if you look at your screen, we're going to be stitching the star on top of the tree. And I think that would be a good accent to have the silver as the star and then these 2 other golds as the filler background. So I'm going to go ahead and put my silver thread in the machine first, and I have a large spool, so I have a thread stand that I use in the back of my machine. So bear with me here while I go and reach that. It's to keep it away from the wheel on the side of your machine so that nothing gets stuck in that. So I always keep my big thread stand at the back of my machine. So we're all loaded, okay? So pick whichever color thread you would like for your stained glass and your star area. And I'm going to put that in the machine first, again, because this first part of the stitch out is where we're going to stitch the star. So I got my loop out. Okay, you ready to go? All right, here we go. This is a 6-minute in real life stitch out, so we'll fast forward through this. Here we go. Are you ready for the next color? Okay, in the color change chart that they provide, they ask for a baby chick. I've chosen to go with the gold on this one, so I've gone with a kind of a bright gold. So pick the color of your choice and put it in your machine. And then this one looks like it's going to be, again, more the stained glass area that we're going to be stitching out. Okay, here we go. And this is a 4-minute in real life stitch out. So let's fast forward through this one and do more of the stained glass. Here we go. I am loving the way that silver and gold looks. It's amazing when you just try something different. It may not be your normal color wheel of choice, but it's like, I wonder what this would look like. Just test it. Just do it. Because you never know how it's going to come out and look until you try it. And that's the cool thing about embroidery is you literally can just do your own thing and choose your own colors and, you know, heck, make it a pink tree if you want. It's whatever your heart desires. And that's what I love so much about machine embroidery. So, you ready for the next one? Now we're going to do the last part of the stained glass. I put in the darker gold. It's kind of like almost a metallic gold without being a metallic thread. It's just a regular polyester thread. Put your color of choice up above to finish out the stained glass look. And a 4-minute stitch out in real life. Let's go. Isn't this fun? Oh, I love watching this come together. I literally sit by my machine and I just watch it stitch. Plus, I'm kind of in tune with the sounds that my machine makes. So if it starts to make a sound that I know that's going to be like a needle breaking coming, I can stop it real quick. So I just sit by the machine and I enjoy the stitch out. The next color that you're going to need to put in your machine is some kind of a brown for the tree trunk. So I'm going with this kind of a cinnamony stick, which is what they call their cinnamon stick. I think it's like a cinnamon brown, so I'm going to put that thread in the top of the machine. I think that'll make a very nice trunk of the tree. So put your brown thread up on top and let's stitch out the trunk. This is a 1-minute stitch out in real life. Very quick. We can do this. Very nice. Okay, that was a nice quick stitch out. So let's take the brown off the top of our machine. And now we're going to pick 3 reds or 3 colors of your choice for the outside border. So they recommend a lipstick rose, a scarlet rose, and a pink carnation. Well, I'm changing mine up a little bit. I'm going to do a kind of a deep Christmas green. I'm going to do a kind of a almost like a fuchsia red, but it's more red than it is fuchsia. And then I'm going to incorporate some green in my border. So I'm not going to do a solid red border all around, but I'm going to do this red first, this red second, and then I'm going to do like an accent of green to kind of tie in the green from the Christmas tree into the border. I think that would be a nice little twist. So choose the 3 colors that you would like to be in your border, whether it's all different shades of red or it's red and green, any color combo you want, and pick the first color. In my case, I'm going to go with the dark Christmas red. Put that first color in, and let's do our accents on the border. 2 minutes, stitch out. Here we go. Nice. Okay, so now pick your second color that you want in your outside border and put that thread in the top of your machine. If you're following along with the sample, it's a scarlet rose, or I'm doing like kind of a fuchsia pink rose red color. So it's just a little bit different than the red that's down there. Put that thread in the top of the machine. This is a 3-minute and real life stitch out. Here we go. This is looking so cool. Okay, so now if you're following along in their color thread change sheet, they're saying a pink carnation thread is the next color. Pick whichever color you like. I'm going to go with a Christmas green because I want to pull that accent out of the tree and have it pop in the border as well. I think that would be pretty. So I'm going to put a Christmas green up on top. Pick your thread color choice. This is a 3-minute stitch out in real life. So, oops. Once you get your machine threaded, which I'm having difficulty doing. Hello. down, over and up. Huh, okay. So once you get that thread in, let's go. Foot down and stitch it out. I am happy with that green on the border. That looks very Christmassy. All right, so the last step that we have is the stained glass outer stitching on all components of this block. So I highly recommend you take a break at this point. Get a restroom break, get something to drink in a sealed container so you don't spill any fluid near your machine, a snack or something, because this next stitch out is 39 minutes. Okay, and I recommend sit by the machine because this is such a long stitch out that the machine has a tendency to break a thread or have something go wrong during that time period. So that's just what I recommend. It's personal choice, but because this is so long, it might break a thread, and if you're by the machine, you can stop it quickly before something happens to your machine, like a broken needle. I'm going to switch out this bobbin thread for a full one because I don't want to have that be an issue why it stops stitching in the middle of this long process. So then gently put your project back on. I am going to not use black thread this time. When we did the autumn series, oops, sorry about the camera shake. When we did the autumn series, the black was a good choice, I thought, because it kind of made it more kind of haunted, spooky kind of for the season with the oranges and the browns and the black. And it fit the season. Christmas and black, not so sure. So I'm going to go a little bit more gentle. And I've chosen almost a stained glass lead dark silver color because it kind of mimics what real stained glass would look like. And it's more, I think it's more gentle for the Christmas block with the red organza, not so strong of a contrast. So I'm going to try this. So I'm going to put this dark, kind of a dark pewter silver thread in the top of my machine, and you pick your color that you like for your stained glass, thread your machine, and we'll fast forward through this, so it won't be 39 minutes in this video, but it is 39 minutes in real life. So just enjoy the process, and I'll see you back here when this is done. It's done. That was a long stitch out. I will have to admit that was long, but it looks really, really cool. I like the slightly toned down look from the black to the dark pewter. That looks really cool, don't you think? I think it goes well with the rest of the colors. That is done. You did a great job. I was kind of surprised that these were regular stitches. I think they're called running stitches. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But I was kind of surprised to see those instead of the satin stitches. But it does give a softer look, so it does work well with the block. We might have to change the way that we finish up the edges, but I'll show you how to do that at the end. But now I need to make another block because I'm doing my glass block double-sided. So I'm going to clear the design in my embroidery machine, and then I'm going to load the Christmas bell design, and I'm going to stitch that, but I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me do that. I'm going to take this block and the block I'm about to stitch, and I'll meet you over at the table where I'll show you how we're going to finish these up and attach them to the glass blocks. All right, and with the magic of TV, poof, there is my second block. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that pretty? It's very subtle, but I love it. What I did was I used silver metallic thread on part of the bell and part of the outline, and it's so sparkly, very subtle but sparkly. I also like the effect of using a kind of a darker silver pewter color for the stained glass. It gives a very kind of a muted but more subtle look than what the autumn series was, which was very orange and black, very standoutish, which the autumn needed. But the Christmas one using the red tulle is much more subtle and very pretty on its own. So if you notice, my bells are silver instead of gold. So just a reminder, you can change the color of any block to be anything you want. It doesn't have to be what the sample is. You can follow the sample, that's awesome, or you can change things up and do color changes on your own. Be unique and make it to where it makes you happy. That's the most important thing. Make yourself happy. So we have the silver bells, and then we have the Christmas tree. So now I have a block for each side of my glass block. So let's finish these guys up. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to trim these up. Now in the autumn series, if you watch that video series, we trimmed them to 1/4 of an inch. This series, I don't want to do that. I want to trim it to 1/2 inch. We need a little bit more room for pinking them to make sure they don't ravel, and for turning it and sewing it under. Again, because this design has running stitches, even though there's a lot of them, I'm just going to be on the safe side, and I'm going to sew the organza underneath just to make sure that none of this comes out. So I want to have 1/2 inch on the outside edge, not 1/4, 1/2. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim this block up using my rotary cutter. Yeah, that'll give us plenty of room to maneuver what we need to do. 1/2 inch on the outside of the block. Do this real quick. 1/2 inch. Measure twice, cut once. Or as long as it's me, it's measure 3 times, cut once. So I have to be super duper sure or I'll make a mistake, which I have done. So make sure you got that 1/2 inch. Cut it off. And do the same thing with your second block. Okay. So then now what we're going to do, before we get rid of the stabilizer, I want to pink this. I'm going to take pinking shears. And don't go in a lot. I just want to pink the edges. Yes, with the stabilizer attached. Just so that it helps the fabric from raveling. It's going to be on the back side, so it's not going to be a major issue, but I just like to have it a little bit more finished and more protected just in case. It does start to ravel. This way you get many, many, many years out of this block because you did that one extra step at the beginning to help protect it. And yes, I'm doing it with the stabilizer on. I'm not washing anything out yet because I want it to be a little more sturdy when I'm doing these steps. Oh, my pinking mess. Okay, so we got that all pinked. Now, one thing I forgot to tell you is we also need some pins, either pins or clover clips. I tend to use clover clips instead of pins because I poke myself and then ended up bleeding all over my project. So I have fallen in love with the use of clover clips for all of my stuff and only use pins when I have to. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold this over. So you're basically looking to fold it over so that none of the organza shows, or just a teeny bit shows on the outside edge of your block. Okay, real easy. Again, you can use pins if you like pins, or clover clips, whichever your preference is, but just secure them to the back side and see how it looks. And then the back side, you've got this amount, which is great because you have plenty to go ahead and stitch down on that side. And where would I stitch? I'm going to stitch down in the dark gray, which is going to leave about a 1/4 inch exposed on the back side, which should be fine. Now, if we want to, we can pink it closer to that after we sew it, but I think that would be a nice edge all the way around. So I'm going to do that all the way around the side, on the two sides, and then I'm going to sew it. And then I'll show you, I'm putting a bobbin of the monofilament down below, and then I'm going to put the monofilament up on the top of my machine. So it's going to be monofilament on both sides. So you're not going to have any of that white bobbin thread to deal with because you don't want to mess up the design you spent 2 hours stitching out. Okay, and then also I'm going to sew it with my Christmas tree upside down. I'm going to sew it with the top facing up. So if there is any boo-boo or knots or anything, it's going to be on the backhand side. Okay, so I'm going to sew these two sides first, get them down, and then we'll come back and we'll sew the other two. So let me get my sewing machine out and let me show you how to do that. So now I have the block with the two sides pinned and showing the back side. Okay, so now I'm just going to stitch on the inside of this pewter border. Okay, I don't want to hit too close to the edge. I also don't want to hit in the colors because even though it's monofilament, it'll show just a little bit, but it'll blend in beautifully with the pewter. So I want to stitch actually on this inside edge so that my stitch disappears into that pewter area. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put it down. I've got the monofilament in the bobbin and the monofilament also up on top. All right, now let's try it. Okay, and I'm going to back stitch a little bit to lock it in. And now let's go ahead and stitch. Taking it slow so I don't deviate out of the pewter border. Slow and steady wins the race, right? Slow and steady. That way it's a straight line and I'm in that pewter border, and then I'm going to back stitch to lock it in. Cut my thread. Okay, that looks good. All right, and if you look at the back, there you go. Yeah, it's got a little thread mess there. I'm not going to worry about it. It's on the backhand side. So let's do the same thing on this side. that looks good. So let's fast forward and let's do the same thing to the top and the bottom. Okay, we are done. Okay, sewn all 4 sides. Trim off your excess threads off the corners, and I'll meet you right back here at the table. And look at that. We've got them both stitched up nicely on the back sides, so they are ready to go. And mind you, the wash away stabilizer is still in there, and that's what we're going to take care of right now. The reason I want to do that while the stabilizer is still on is that the block would be stiff and easy to work with in sewing, and that it would also keep this block square, being stiff like that. So now we are going to take care of the stabilizer. So I'm going to turn them upside down, right side facing down, and either 2 options. One, you can go to the sink, do a little trickle of water until the entire block is wet. Don't soak, don't run under heavy water. Option B is to use a squirt bottle, because that way I can sit at the table on the towel and I can see when it's getting wet, not get it overly wet. And you can see on the Christmas tree as it's getting wet. A little bit more. And I want to get the edges wet too, because now I want that part to start dissolving. Okay, it needs to be a little bit more so that all parts of the stabilizer turn dark. Okay. And what this is going to do is it's going to start the activation process. Leave it about 20 to 30 seconds. It curl up a little bit, but that's okay, because it's going to go under an iron when we're all done. Okay. And then I'll turn it right side up so it stays more flat as it starts to dissolve. And I'm going to do the second one. Like I said, this is just a mister bottle, so it takes a little bit longer. See, it starts to curl there a little bit. That's okay. This is why we sewed the edges and everything on the block before we did this. Okay, a little bit more on the edges. Okay, now I'm going to put this one right side down while I work on the tree. Now I'm going to take a paper towel. This one's been sitting for about 30 seconds. And I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to start to pat it. And any of the areas that need a little bit more wet, that are not dark, you can do, but then work on the dark spots. And I'm not taking off all of the stabilizer at this point. I'm going to leave some of it in because I want it to help support the block. But I'm going to pat the back of the block. Can you see it here? As the process starts to dissolve the stabilizer. And again, I'm not going to take it all off. I am just going for like maybe 75 to 90%. And you can feel your towel's all tacky. And then I'm going to turn it back over, flatten it out, and I'm going to let it dry. And I'm going to come and do the same thing. Again, I don't want all of the, tacky. I don't want all of the stabilizer gone. I just want enough that it will allow more light to shine through, but that it will still give it some stability. So it'll be a little tacky. That's fine. That's what you want. Okay, because when it dries, it'll give it a little bit of stabilization on the block. Okay, so now I'm going to turn this one right side up, layer down, and don't worry if it curls a little bit as it dries, because we are going to press it when we're all done with a pressing sheet or the other side of this towel to get all the wrinkles out. The main thing is to keep it from being totally warped over like that. This is good. Okay. I'm going to leave it here overnight and let it dry. Just keep it there. And then we'll press it once it's all dry. But this way it's keeping its shape. And I'll meet you right back here for the next step. Okay, so if your blocks were a little bit curled on the edges, all you have to do is put them face down, touch them lightly with a low setting on your iron with a pressing sheet on top. Okay, that will flatten out because mine curled just a little bit on the edges. That's all you have to do. Okay, so you should have now 2 amazing blocks that are ready to attach to the glass block. So let's do that now. So what I do is I'm going to place the embroidered block on top of the glass. I'm going to lean it up here so I can see what I'm doing. And I basically just want to center it so I have the equal amount of glass showing on the outside edges. And I want to just secure it lightly with the pink embroiderer's tape or the blue painter's tape. And that's going to just help hold the block in place while we attach the Velcro. Okay, so that's ready to go. Then I'm going to use the Velcro roll, or you can use the dots if you like. And I'm basically just going to take that edge off. There we go. I'm going to attach them to themselves. Take the roll off here. I'm going to attach them to themselves like they would be in real life. So I'm going to take the one loop side edge and attach it to the, what I call the connector edge. Okay? And just do that for a little ways. You don't have to do the whole thing. That's a good amount. And then I'm going to take my regular scissors and I'm going to cut off a square. Just make it a square. About that size. If you have the Velcro dots, those work as well. I just found that I had the little teeny tiny dots on the last video and they stay, but I wanted a little bit more secureness on it so that they would really stay. So on this one, I'm going a slightly larger. Okay, so let's put that to the side. So I've cut 4 squares and now we're ready to attach. Okay, so I'm going to take off the sticky. And it doesn't really matter which side you put down. And I would go into the square of the glass block right there, so you can see. And then just stick that down. Okay, do the same thing with this one. Okay, same thing. Put it on the inside edge. Tap that down. So go ahead and place the last 2 corners. Okay, now if this does not hold, see these are holding nicely to the fabric. That one is. That one is as well. That one's holding. This one did not. So all I would do is I would put a little bit of E6000 glue on top of this one and glue it, and you should be fine. But just check to see if they're holding or not. And if they're not holding, then you can add some E6000 glue. This is good for attaching fabric to items. So use this if you need to, if this happens to you, okay? So I'll do that. And then what I want you to do is do the same thing for the opposite side of the block if you're doing double-sided. I want you to attach your block using the embroidery or your blue painter's tape and do the same thing for your squares of Velcro. and I'll meet you right back here. So now once you've done that, if they're sticking together nicely like that, then you're ready to go. If they're not, you add that E6000 glue. And the E6000 actually has a cure time. If I'm looking here, it's allowed 24 hours for to cure, and maximum bond strength may not be reached for up to 72 hours. Then that's how long you'll have to wait in order to allow it to cure. But these appear to be sticking nicely, except for that one, which I put glue on. I will let that one cure before I separate the embroidered block from that. Don't those look amazing? Okay, now we're ready for the ultimate test. We're going to put in, actually 3 different strands of lights, and we're going to see how these light up and which one looks the best. Now this one, if this one is the best, I will need to get some polyfill filling and insert it as I insert these lights, because these lights are heavier and they will go down to the bottom of the block when the block is stood upright. Because these are not your standard fairy lights, these are more like Christmas lights. I forget the C number that they are, but they will collapse down to the bottom of the block. All right, so let's turn off the lights and let's see what this looks like. I'm in love with that. Isn't that gorgeous? Woohoo! And of course, again, it would stand upright. But this, again, definitely needs some of that polyfill or tulle. Tulle will be nice and lightweight as well up here to keep the lights proportioned within the block. Doesn't that look amazing? I love that. Okay, now let's see what the other side looks like. Let's turn this around. Ooh, Christmas bells. Those look pretty as well. Look at that. And of course, the battery unit would just have to be at. You could place the battery unit inside, or you could place it outside, because the glass block has a little ridge right here that when it's stood up, the wire can come out. That way you can control it without having to go in the block each time. Isn't that pretty? There we go. Isn't that gorgeous? Okay, so let's try it with the multicolor lights. Let's turn those off. There we go. Now let's try the multicolor version. There we go. Which looked amazing in the autumn series. So let's see what this looks like in the Christmas series. I do like multicolored lights, so I'm hoping this. Oh, that's pretty. That is pretty as well. You don't see the silver effect. It kind of brings it more like a regular Christmas tree effect, because I had silver metallic thread on that one. But that is still gorgeous. That is still gorgeous. Look at that. Out of the shot. That is gorgeous. Okay, let's see what the Christmas tree looks like. I love doing these double-sided. I just think you're getting so much more out of the glass block, and then everyone around each side of the table is going to be able to see the amazingness of the glass block because it's double-sided. That's cool. I love that too. Okay, we got one more light strand to try. One more light strand. Here we go. And these are true fairy lights. These are wire based and have very, very fine little lights on it. So you don't want to pull too hard, but I'm going to get this part unwound a little bit. These you won't need any type of filler in, I believe, because they're on wire, and they're just going to kind of go wherever they go, and they'll stay there. They don't have the weight to pull them down like the regular Christmas lights do. And this is just, again, a fairy light strand that I got on Amazon. I think it has at least 20 lights on it. There we go. Let's put the last of these in there. Like I said, they're wire based, so I don't see any filler being needed. Let's test it. Yeah, no, you don't need any filler on these wire based ones. Isn't that pretty? That I think I like as well, because that actually shows the true color of the thread is coming through with those, because they're a little bit finer, but they still produce a lot of light. But you can see the color. It's very hard to see on the camera, the color that it's showing, but you can see oh yeah, you can definitely see the true color on this one with the red and the silver. That is gorgeous. Yeah, so I think this light strand's the winner for this block. Yes, isn't that gorgeous? Love it. I hope you enjoyed making this glass light Christmas series project as much as I did. And please stay tuned here on Jolly Molly TV for more fun videos. And until then, happy stitching. Bye-bye.